Welcome back. So still November, still a nice, beautiful, clear morning. So what I wanted to talk about next was having pets in Japan as a foreigner. It's difficult to adopt pets. I'm going to talk about cats because that's my experience. I have more experience with cats than with dogs, although I like all animals. It's difficult to adopt, especially as a foreigner. And I think this is because unless you are a permanent resident or a naturalized foreigner living here, or naturalized Japanese, because that would make you Japanese, they don't know if you're going to. Oh, good Lord! Turn your car. They don't know if you're going to spend. Oh, good Lord! I didn't see you. They don't know if you're going to stay here long term. And they are probably fearful that you will abandon the cat. Like I said, I'm going to talk about cats. But this can also include dogs. Girl, why? And that makes sense because that has happened when I lived in Okinawa. A lot of the foreigners there would rescue and adopt cats and dogs, not just one or two. They'd have like 3 dogs or cats, and they are doing this because there were a lot of stray animals in Okinawa. Why so many? Because a lot of the foreigners would rescue or adopt, and then when they have to leave, when they get reassigned, these are military personnel or military families. When they get reassigned somewhere, they can't take the animal, they can't afford to take the animal, or there's some sort of separation between the couple, and nobody either wants to or can keep the animal, and then they sometimes let them loose. It is so sad. It is so sad, and it's ridiculously irresponsible. So I think a lot of these rescue places do not want to adopt out the animals to foreigners. It's a bit of a discrimination, yes, but I also understand. How did I get my 2 beautiful cats? The first one was a desperate situation. He was a stray cat. Okay, that's another way. So you can also just get a cat off the street. Dogs, no. You won't find any dogs wandering around. You'd have to adopt. But you can get a cat off the street. Stray cat that maybe attaches itself to you, or maybe you saw an injured cat or a sick cat, took care of it, and you want to keep it. You can do that. The one thing I say to people who come here, foreigners living here, whether long term or short term, for all that's good and holy in the world, please do not abandon these animals that you decided to take in. It is so unfair. It's just better to leave them alone, feed them if you want, but don't take them in as a pet and then abandon them. It is really heartbreaking that happening. Anyway, let's get back to it. Don't hit me. Let's get back to it. So for me, this cat I took, the first one, was being advertised as needing a home because his caregiver, he was a stray cat, the people in that area were feeding these stray cats. He attached himself to one of the residents, and this person really loved the cat. But her housing in that area, the housing in that area was going to be demolished. She was living in one of those houses, and so she had to move. The company was providing alternative housing for these residents. Unfortunately, no pets allowed, and she was really desperate. These are people who are living off their pension, so she didn't have the luxury of pick and choosing where she could live. She really had her limitations to her funds. So she was trying to find a home for this cat, and he was advertised in one of the pet groups or animal groups on Facebook, which I follow. And I was kind of watching it for a little bit. He's a tabby. I love tabbies. And then he was FIV positive. He looked like he had some sort of eye issue, but he was so adorable. And I watched it for a little bit, and then I said, I'd be willing to foster him if I move into once I move into a pet-friendly apartment. So keep me in mind, I'm looking to find a pet-friendly apartment. So while I was searching for that, I was keeping track of the cat, I finally found an apartment I could rent that wasn't discriminating against me. And I informed the rescuer who was overseeing this whole thing. I said, have you found anyone? They did find a couple, but there were some circumstances they didn't quite like, and so he was still available. I said, okay, well, I'm still available. I will foster him for as long as you need until you find a home. Of course, I'd fallen in love with this boy. I went and I met the cat and his caregiver. He was adorable, but did not want to be inside and was a little shy. And he was big. Anyway, it seemed like the lady changed her mind. She wanted to keep me. She was trying to find an apartment that allowed pets. That was not happening. I was still available. Finally, it came down to her running out of time. And of course, the cost of apartments that were available was just ridiculous. So I got the cat. They brought him. I prepared my apartment for him. They brought him, and he was, of course, a little bit stressed, but I had a cage. And he stayed in the cage for a few days until I let him out. And he was just like hissy. But you know what? He was hissy, but he was not aggressive. So he would hiss, but I could still touch him. He was adorable. Adorable. Anyway, so once he got comfortable, I realized this boy was a crier. He would walk around at the weirdest time of the night/morning crying. And I got so stressed thinking, oh no, please don't tell me this is going to be a permanent thing with him. What I realized, this boy wanted a companion. He wanted a friend, because he would look in the mirror and not hiss, but cry and want to get close to the cat he saw in the mirror. And I realized, oh, he wants a companion. So I was determined to find him a companion. And I was trying to work with the same rescuer. And then I so happened that one day in my town, I saw this injured cat. I reached out to my rescuer, and she put me in touch with a local rescuer, which I contacted, and I would communicate in translated Japanese. And so the lady and I met, we looked at the cat, we found out that the cat was being cared for by the people in the area, blah, blah, blah. And, we kind of became acquaintances. So I said to her, I'm looking for a cat for my cat. I love black cats. So I definitely would want to get a specific cat, a black cat. And she was like, I have a cat. I said, my cat is FIV positive. So, Anyway, eventually I met the cat she had in mind. Sweet girl. And so we agreed that I would foster her. We agreed on a date. Taraske, my cat, got sick. And so I said, we have to put that off until I can get him looked after. Finally, this girl cat came. They were so okay with each other that the first night, I'm trying to remember if I put her in a cage. The first night, I didn't put her in a cage. She just walked around freely. It was fine. Second night, I did put her in a cage because, I don't know, I just thought, you know what, there was no bad interaction, but I decided to put her in the cage overnight. And I could see that when I was gone during the day, I was gone during the day. I think I put her in the cage because I was going to be at home. That was why I went to work. So I put her in the cage because I wouldn't be there to monitor anything. And when I came home, I realized she was trying to get out because I saw she had pulled something into the cage that was hanging on from the top of it. So I could tell she had been stressed. So I kind of trusted that they were fine with each other. They were perfectly fine. They were even-tempered cats. She was friendly, but more towards people, and he was just adoring her the whole time. So the crying stopped a little bit. He's still a talkative cat, very vocal. She is so quiet. She barely makes any sound. So he makes enough sound for two cats. So I have two. That's how I have two cats. That is how I have my two beautiful cats. And I love them, and they are okay with each other. They do play, and they're senior cats. They do play, but sometimes I don't think she can stand him. But she's not aggressive. Sometimes I think she's like very bored by his weird behavior. He's so pathetic, but he's so cute. Anyway, that's how I got my cat. So I got my cat because one, the situation was desperate for my first cat, the tabby, and two, the girl cat. I think the lady trusted me, and that is why she told me she trusted me, and so that's why. They do charge. If you are adopting a cat here, they do charge a fairly substantial amount of money. But I understand that to make sure there's nobody taking these animals to dump them or hurt them. Nobody's going to pay that amount of money for an animal that they're going to destroy. And I think that's a good thing. I don't complain about it. It's sometimes a little pricey, but I don't complain. I just accept it. I would say that whatever animal you're getting, make sure that they're medically checked. I do have an unfortunate thing with the second cat. I still don't have her medical record, and I've been asking about that. Now, my first one is FIV positive, and he had urinary issues. I got his medical information, and he's pretty good. I did get a surgery for his eye, which the rescuer paid because I was fostering him at the time. When I adopted him, I pretty much, took full responsibility financially. But I still check in and share information about both cats. So with the second one, yeah, I'm still waiting on her medical information. She has incurred a bit more expenses than my first cat. So I'm not even sure what's going on with her. So I need to get a blood test done on my own because I'm a little bit annoyed by the lack of information that I'm getting. Anyway, I love her, and my cat loves her, and so I could never return her or anything like that because it would be unfair to her, and definitely would be unfair to my first cat. It's not the cat's fault. It's just things are done differently. The first rescuer, very, very upfront with things, very much involved, and the second one, yeah. Anyway, I love both cats. And if I had taken her off the street, I would have been doing all I can to make sure she's safe and healthy and all of that. So, yeah, I don't complain about her at all. So that's it. Any questions, let me know. I may not have covered everything. I'm just talking off the cuff. So, yeah, that's it. Please subscribe. You got questions, ask the questions in the comment section. Okay guys, bye. This is so long. Wow.